Hello and welcome to Did You Know Gaming Extra. In today's episode, we'll be exploring stories that developers have told about themselves or colleagues. While some video game developers are well known, most of them remain in obscurity, being overshadowed by their creations. Because of this, stories about how developers experience their own games and profession get comparatively much less coverage in games media. Today, we're changing the tide a little by sharing an interesting handful of their stories. We're starting off with the story surrounding Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, and the game's producer, Brian Walker. In an interview with IGN, Brian disclosed his favorite and least favorite bosses in the game, which are the Quadraxis and the Boost Guardian, respectively. The Boost Guardian was his least favorite because he couldn't actually beat it. In the interview, Brian confessed that he could only beat the boss while in debug mode, where he was able to give himself advantages players wouldn't normally have. While Brian didn't want to make the boss easier for himself, some other developers aren't as selfless. In an interview with Yomi Uri Online, game designer Koji Nishino revealed that the reason why Pikachu was somewhat hard to find in Viridian Forest was because of his own desires towards the character. Nishino said, "This is embarrassing, but since I like Pikachu so much, I get this feeling of not wanting to let other people have Pikachu. At first, I even considered simply hiding Pikachu. As a result, the opposite happened when strategy guides and such had stuff written like, 'First, catch a Pikachu.' And before I knew it, everybody had Pikachu, and my plan completely backfired." Developers at the Pokemon Company aren't the only ones that can be a bit devious, but this next example was for a good reason. While developing Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U, voice actor Xander Mobus was brought in to be the game's announcer. During recording sessions, Nintendo would throw in characters that were never considered for the game for Xander to read. This was an effort by Nintendo to prevent the game's roster from leaking, with the idea being that no one truly knew who was and was not in the game. Xander told YouTuber Mason of Delfino, "I didn't know the final roster for Smash Bros. They were very tricky. They gave me a lot of red herrings in the script. Some of them were really obvious, but some of them weren't so obvious. I thought Duck Hunt, I was like, what the hell, are you gonna put the cartridge in the game? Come on, who do they think they're fooling with Duck Hunt?" Then he's in the game, and because of that, I had no idea. Some developer stories are a bit more action-packed. According to the David Kushner book, Masters of Doom, John Romero once accidentally locked himself in his office while developing Doom. Romero cried out to his fellow developers to help free him, and after a few attempts of opening the door, Doom programmer John Carmack remembered that he had a real-life battle axe in his office. Carmack had paid $5,000 for the custom-made weapon, and was eager to try it out. Developers began to gather around Carmack chanting, "Battle axe! Battle axe! Battle axe!" and Carmack hacked away at the door until Romero was free. Meanwhile, at Nintendo, the lives of developers are a lot less exciting. In an editorial from The New Yorker, it was revealed that Nintendo are somewhat overprotective of their golden boy and creator of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto. As it turns out, Nintendo prohibits Miyamoto from either walking or biking to work, and ask him to drive instead. This is because he's become an invaluable asset to the company, and they fear that he might get hit by a motorist if he commutes to work outside the safety of a vehicle. This may sound strange, but other Nintendo veterans such as Gunpei Yokoi met their untimely end in a very similar way. And now it's time for this episode's random piece of trivia. Today, we're looking at the meme-worthy game Zero Wing, notorious for its poor English translation. What's interesting about the game, besides its poor localization, is that the Japanese version has an additional 32 endings not seen in the English release. No official explanation has been given as to why these extra endings were removed. However, considering that these endings rely heavily on unusual speech patterns and Japanese pop culture references, and factoring in the already poor quality of the English localization, it's possible that either the localization team didn't translate the endings because it was beyond their ability, or because they were under time or budgetary constraints. And if you'd like to see how Nintendo re-releases were changed, take a look at the video in the top right corner of the screen. Don't forget, we're also making a book for our other show, Region Locked. If you want to see more information on that, there'll be a link in the description. As usual, thank you for watching, and since you're still here, clearly you actually like listening to us talk, otherwise you would have just quit out of the video when the trivia was done. So take this as a little message to know we appreciate you, we think you're great. Oh, and by the way, we do actually have a Discord channel if you do want to talk to us sometime, you know, we're pretty cool guys. Why not come and actually say hello to us? It would be quite nice.